What's going on, Raider Nation? We are live here at a Primo's family draft party. I'm about to show you the scene right now. Let me switch cameras. And this is what we got cooking up. We got everybody here. It is fantasy football year back again. We are going to be talking about all fantasy football players. We are going to recap the Raiders and the Niners preseason game yesterday. What's going on, Chippy? I see you pulling up in the building. Yo, what's up? So, yeah, let's preview the Raiders and Niners preseason finale yesterday, you guys. Let me make sure my audio, my Wi-Fi is all good. I think it is a little choppy, you guys, a little choppy. But thank you guys for pulling up. Chippy, if you can, share the link. If this is your first time joining Raiders Primos, share the link around, hit that subscribe button, and also hit that bell so you guys are not missing anything. Anything Raiders related. We got Indiana Raider in the building. Salute. So, yeah, let's talk about it, you guys. The Raiders and the Niners finished in a tie 24-24. The Niners started their starters in the first quarter. Pretty much was driving the length of the field on our defense. They scored 17 points, their starters did. Purdy did have one interception. It was off a tip pass to Chris Smith, our second-year guy out of Georgia. I said in the week one preseason against the Vikings that I thought Chris Smith was going to possibly be on the bubble to being cut, but it seems he's been making plays for the past 2 weeks, so he made a name for himself. But Tyreek McAllister is going to be the name that we are highlighting as our kick returning. Now, we knew the Niners did have some struggles in special teams when they played the Jaguars. I believe it was week one of the preseason. They were struggling in the kickoff unit and their punting unit. Tyreek McAllister took 186 yards to the house for a touchdown. He also had a receiving touchdown that was on an underthrown pass from Carter Bradley. Tyreek McAllister has locked himself, I believe, a roster spot on this 53-man roster. Also, Amari Gaynor, our UDFA, he locked himself a 53-man roster spot, having 11 total tackles in yesterday's game. But yes, you guys, other than that, really not so much to talk about. Our backups, none of our starters played in yesterday's game. And we finished the season 0-2 or finished the preseason 0-2-1. Chippy says Nathan Peterman was cooking. He had a one touchdown pass. Carter Bradley had one touchdown pass. Also, I think Carter Bradley did have an interception thrown. Salute to one of our moderators, Raider Scorpio. What's up, Primos? Stand up, Raider Nation, Raiders. And he said Bradley shown me he can be our third quarterback. He likely probably will be that emergency quarterback, as we're going to roll with Gardner Minshew for the starting position. And we're going to have Aiden O'Connell as our backup. But with that being said, you guys, not really much to go into for the Raiders preseason finale. So I'm going to interview some of the members here that are going to be playing in this fantasy football league that my primo, Teddy Pacheco, you guys may have seen him in the chat. He is the commissioner of. We will be interviewing him. And then we will be interviewing some of the managers and past champions. But I'm going to break it down to you guys because I think some of my subscribers, I've talked to some of you guys personally, that you guys have been interested in doing fantasy football. You guys don't know really what it is about. And this is what today's live is going to be about. We are going to talk all 32 football teams. We are going to talk about every single fantasy player, sleepers, and possible players that I would avoid using your first round pick on, or even your second round pick. The Justin Jeffersons of the world, the Devontae Adams. You probably are not going to want to use your first. You probably are not going to use your first wide receiver pick on those guys. Reason being is their quarterback situations. You got to look at your quarterback situations when talking about wide receiver ones and talking about numbers. Fantasy football is not about picking names. It is about picking production. Which players are going to give you the most production throughout the season, and also who is going to be best available. There's been a lot of players that have went to new teams. There's a lot of rookies that are coming out of this draft. that are possibly going to be fantasy football sleepers. So let's get into it, you guys. We're going to actually preview my top, or I would say my top quarterbacks going into this 2024 season. And I used websites. Shout out to this website, FP. They have Josh Allen as their first number one ranking quarterback going into 2024. I disagree with that. I don't know how Patrick Mahomes is not the number one rated fantasy quarterback. Josh Allen had 473.7 fantasy points. He also had 20. That is averaging 27.9 points per game. And also he didn't miss a game, you guys. Josh Allen is the best available quarterback because he does not get injured. He also had 18 interceptions and he had 15 rushing touchdowns. So in total, he had 15 rushing touchdowns. And he had 25 plus passing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts comes in at rated number 2. Again, disagreeing with that. I just don't know how Patrick Mahomes is not in the top 3. FP Fantasy Pros, they have Patrick Mahomes at number 4. I disagree. Now let's go into the running backs, you guys. We're gonna go into the running backs. Let me get into the starting running backs. You got Christian McCaffrey. I believe there's no surprise there. You got Christian McCaffrey being one of the dual threat running backs in the league. He can receive, he can catch. The Niners, Kyle Shanahan has a lot of plays dialed up for him, lining up in the slot, coming out of the backfield, not just running the football, but even as a receiver. He is going to put up monster numbers. His ADP is being the first overall draft pick. Not going to be surprising to see that in today's draft, to see Christian McCaffrey go number 1. He has dropped into the draft at number 8. That is the worst pick that or at least the farthest that he's gone was in the 8th. But let me get a second, you guys. I want to acknowledge anybody else who has came up into the chat really quick. Fantasy-wise, should Davante Adams be a top wide receiver priority in fantasy? Is he going to get good numbers with Minshew as quarterback? Possibly, Ray Scorpio. Gardner Minshew has always been known as a gunslinger. The problem, though, with Minshew is that he does turn the football over when targeting those number ones. Now, let's look at Michael Pittman, for example, who had a career year. Now, here's where I talk about production. Michael Pittman put up yards, but he didn't put up touchdowns, and that's what we look at in fantasy, right? He had last season 1,152 yards receiving, and he averaged 72 yards a game, but he only had 4 touchdowns receiving last season. Davante Adams is coming off a season where he had 8 touchdown catches, playing with Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, and Brian Hoyer as the starting quarterbacks for the Raiders. Will he get that same production from Gardner Minshew? It is yet to be seen. Gardner Minshew, he does spread the football around. And when it comes to touchdowns, you've seen with Michael Pittman, it was 4 touchdowns that he had. But you also got Jacoby Myers, I think, is going to be that red zone threat, and the Raiders are going to push the football into the red zone. Are they going to be that first to attack offense? Probably they will, but it will not be via Davante Adams. It will likely be Trey Tucker, like I said, Brock Bowers, and also Michael Mayer going into that 12th personnel that the Raiders are likely going to play in. Davante Adams is probably going to get not as many targets as possibly many people think. So he will be a good, solid wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 to look at. But as a wide receiver 1, I am not looking at Davante Adams to be that wide receiver 1. Chippy says he got his draft tomorrow too. And Chippy, it is fantasy football season. I'm going to look at a cheat sheet. I want to see if I can find one. I'm going to find one from ESPN or we can look at Fantasy Pros. Yeah, this is what I wanted to look at. By position, we're looking at standard. So quarterbacks, we got Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, number 3, Lamar Jackson, number 4, and a surprise at number 5, you guys, Anthony Richardson, coming from the Colts, is rated the number 5 quarterback going into fantasy in 2024. We can look at his stats here, you guys. Before he got injured, he played in 4 games for the Colts before getting injured. I actually do. We're gonna bring after I bring these stats up. We will bring our first interview on, but Anthony Richardson. We're gonna look at his fantasy stats of last season before he got injured. He was a dual threat. A lot of people compared him to Lamar Jackson. He finished the season with 3 touchdowns, 144 yards per game. Let me look at his outlook. He's really just known as a breakout candidate. But like I said, he is his draft overall. He is the 6th quarterback off the board. He is the 61st overall pick. With the running backs being Isaiah Pacheco and his wide receiver being Jameson Williams, Dotson Kincaid, some other sleepers that we're gonna look at. But before we get more into it, I want to invite the commissioner, Teddy Pacheco. Can I get you over here as my first interview that we're gonna bring on? This is my cousin Teddy Pacheco, who is the commissioner for this fantasy draft. Teddy, thank you for coming on.
What's going on, man?
You are the former champion. Where's the trophy at? Where we got the trophy at?
Trophy, please.
We gotta bring that trophy.
I'm gonna have my sister bring that. Trophy.
You are the champion returning. How was it last season, and what was the strategy going into the 2023 season to lock up this beautiful trophy that we got right here, front and center?
This is my baby. I want to thank my boy Kibby for shining this up and making this very nice for me. But last year I would say last year was a lot of luck. Honestly, I think I won the championship through the waiver wire more than anything, because a lot of my players that I did draft last year ended up getting hurt. My very first draft, my very first pick of last year was Nick Chubb.
Okay.
And everybody knows what happened with the Nick Chubb.
I had him too.
So Nick Chubb actually destroyed his whole knee.
Yep.
My second pick was Mark Andrews, who ended up getting hurt for the season.
Yeah.
And my 5th pick was Aaron Rodgers, who
you had injury. The injury bug early.
Bug was early. Yeah. Early. But I was able to get Brock Purdy at a very late round pick, because nobody really was messing with it, and he actually saved my season.
Okay.
So he saved my season, so I think that was huge. Just my waiver wires and my pickups, my backups.
I gotta agree too. I'm the returning champion in my league.
Absolutely.
And the waiver wire is what really saved me.
Yeah.
So I mean, going into today's draft, knowing that the waiver wire saved you, I mean, what is the strategy going into this draft in 2024? Knowing the waiver wire could really save you.
It could. You don't really know what you have until halfway through the season anyways. When you are watching these rookies either turn out to be good or turn out to be bust.
Yeah.
I've never been a rookie kind of guy where I want to draft people without knowing what their expectation is.
Yeah.
But my strategy into this year, I think it's all going to depend on where I'm at.
Yeah.
In the draft. If I'm early on in the order, I might go receiver, running back heavy.
Okay.
If I go late on, I might be receiver heavy. But I just want to be consistent, like more equal throughout the whole thing.
All right.
I mean, I don't want to go one-sided and not be able to touch anything else. My strategy is always different than anybody else.
Okay, and then I want to explain to the viewers, how does your fantasy league work? We know we got PPR leagues, standard leagues. So how is your league structured?
So my league it's standard. It's always been standard.
Okay.
I run 1 quarterback, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, a quarterback, a defense, and we also do a defensive player.
Okay.
And it's been standard for a very long time. I've done PPR also, but I think standard's a lot more easier to work with in that sense. We don't do any trades because our buy-in's $300.
Okay.
So we're playing kind of big money.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of people playing in cahoots or trying to team up with somebody else.
Okay.
And kind of make it fair for everybody. But we do unlimited waiver wire pickups.
Okay.
So that kind of helps.
And I believe there's like 66 different quarterbacks last season that the NFL totaled. So I believe that all these teams here were looking at the waiver wire. Quarterbacks were dropping like flies. We had, Anthony Richardson I brought up. He missed 4 games. You mentioned you had Aaron Rodgers. He played 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That was out.
Give that to Brittany.
So, I mean, we're hoping that isn't the case, but knowing that the league is going into more a backup quarterback, you have to eye backup quarterbacks this season.
Yeah.
Going into the draft, or not in the draft, but waiver wire, or even paying attention on Sundays, watching backup quarterbacks.
If I'm going to go backup quarterback, I may tend to go with the rookie.
Okay.
I mean, if obviously I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be out there, but if you can get someone like Anthony Richardson, if you get Anthony Richardson, I mean, That's gonna steal, but I don't think he's gonna make it that far either. So
okay.
you know, that will definitely help you.
All right.
Definitely help you.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Good luck in the season.
Hey, I need it. Man. Wish me luck, man, and we'll see how the rest of this day goes.
All right.
Huh?
Y'all want to see the trophy? This is what they're playing for right here. This is what they're playing for. This trophy. There's some champions on here. We are going to interview former champions, and you know, you gotta try to repeat or try to get another one. Thank you for the 5 people that are in the chat, guys. Spread the link around if you guys are joining up. Hit that subscribe button. We reached over 500 subscribers. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me see. Raider Scorpio says, who would be your top pick if you had the first pick for fantasy? Christian McCaffrey, like right out the gate. Like, you got to go running back. I know the Niner fans are going to like hearing that. Christian McCaffrey will be my first overall pick. You gotta start strong with the running back room. And Christian McCaffrey, dual threat running back, coming out of the backfield, being able to receive and to run the football efficiently. And the Niners are going to utilize him in the red zone. That is the big part that I look for running backs is heavy workload and who are they going to be beneficial in the red zone. So Christian McCaffrey will be my top pick in the first round. Chippy says, I don't know if we've seen enough from A-Ridge though to take him that high. That's what I'm saying, Chippy. 5, the 5th quarterback in fantasy. I don't know, man. I don't know. But my next guest is going to be my pops. He is a former champion. He is 3-time fantasy football champion in this league. I'm going to say that again. My dad is a 3-time champ. Welcome, Edwin Parilla Sr. We're going to interview him. 3-time champ. I think you got eliminated by 1 point, though, last year.
Yeah, I came in second, man. Commissioner wanted, and it was a good matchup back and forth. By 1 point.
Now,
first of all, Raiders! That's all for the Niner fans that are here right now.
Yeah, we got a lot of Niner fans here.
Raiders is in the house.
Yes.
All right. You hear that? Raiders! That's what I'm saying.
So, Edwin, you are the 3-time champ.
Yeah, 3-time.
My pops is a 3-time champ. So going into the seasons, if you could date back, what was the strategy going into those seasons that made you come out on top?
Man, it's all about waiver wire, really, man, because a lot of things happen during the season. So you got to get on that waiver wire and hopefully you get a good one and that come out from nowhere, and could win it for you. Because last year I had a few waiver wires that brought it up. I got Jordan Love from the waiver wire. I got CJ Stroud from the waiver wire. So they're the one who brought me to second place. So yeah, waiver wire is very important if you could just grab the guy you want.
Yeah, your commissioner Teddy Pacheco said the same thing.
Oh,
he
following my lead. That's the thing.
He said that's how he beat you.
Yeah, I gave him a few tips. So.
Now the NFL released a stat of 66 starting quarterbacks that were last season. A lot of quarterback injuries.
Definitely.
You even said you had to pick up CJ Stroud and Jordan Love, 2 quarterbacks off the waiver.
Yep. I have Richardson.
Yeah, you had Anthony Richardson.
Look at what happened, man.
So knowing that going into this season that possibly could be another injury, God forbid. We always hope for a healthy season, but injuries happen. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
So going into the season, how are you expecting to attack the quarterback position, knowing, hey, some quarterbacks can just start dropping like flies, and you might have to attack that waiver wire?
And that's the thing. You got to do your homework on these quarterbacks. I mean, that's a lot of rookies. My strategy is always try to get one of these rookies. Because they got something to prove. If they're starting, they want to start fast. They want to start quick. So I might take a rookie, and that nobody's expecting like I did last year. But definitely, if you could get one of the top 5 quarterbacks out there, it all depends how they draft. But a lot of quarterbacks could be going out quick. So you just want to try to get one that is pretty good, especially in this league because it's standard. It's no PPR. So it's more a strategy and get ready for it.
Okay, and then let's talk. Now we're both Raider fans, as we can possibly see. Devontae Adams is going to be the heavily talked person because he's one of the best.
Yeah,
best wide receivers. But the quarterback situation is not really in his favor. But also the talent that the Raiders do have: Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer,
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers, who had a career high in touchdowns
Yeah.
receiving, Trey Tucker, who people expect to take a big, but fantasy-wise, is Devontae Adams a wide receiver that you're looking at to be your first wide receiver you're picking off the draft board?
Man, sadly, I'm a Raiders fan. If he's up there late rounds, man. I'm not sure if he's top 5 right now. I mean, he could be top 10, just because of the quarterback situation. You just see what happened last year? I had Devontae Adams last year. Gave him a shot with Jimmy G, didn't work out. So that's like. It's a toss-up, you know. So we would never know because he didn't play preseason, so we don't know the connection. But he's definitely not a person that would look to get in my top 5 receiver. I probably will grab him if he's available in the 4th, 5th round.
Okay.
So we'll see how it everything turn out.
Salute to the chat. Another Raiders question that is surprising. The Raiders defense.
Oh, definitely.
The fantasy is not giving them enough credit, rating them at the bottom, not even giving the Raiders a top 10 look.
Nothing.
What do you think about the Raiders defense? Are they a sleeper defense going into the fantasy season?
Big sleeper. I mean, I will grab not saying that early, I'm a person, I don't take defense early. That's a late round. Me. But if they're up there, that's a big sleeper. I mean, they assigned big dudes.
Christian
Wilkinson. They got
Matt Crosby. Who, I mean, top 10 in the top 100 players.
Those corners.
Jack Jones, Jacorian Bennett.
Linebackers are there. I mean, it's just the puzzle has to fit together. But to say they're not top 5, I believe they should be at least number 10 in top 10.
Yeah. Well, fantasy has rated them down at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
mid-20s.
Definitely. I mean, you expect it because past season we never have good defense. So, people are just getting that PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD of the Raiders defense. Giving them the hype.
Giving them the hype. But, I'm still, Raiders for life. You understand? Raiders for life, no matter if they win or lose, tie. I'm always supported them.
All right, and then Raiders prediction on the season before we let you go.
Ooh, really, really. I'm saying it's a tough one. I'm hoping, even though this is my thing. If Minshew played the whole season, that's something good. That means they're doing something good. They didn't change quarterback. They didn't get hurt. So, my prediction, they could go.
I got 10 wins minimum.
9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, I say 9
or 10 wins. I could give them 9 or 10 wins. I mean, but they got to come out. These first few games, they got to come out showing something.
Opening up against the Chargers, on the road against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Home opener against Carolina, and then back-to-back home games against Cleveland. Carolina and Cleveland.
Can Minshew?
And it's going to come down to the offense.
Can Minshew surprise and be like, who? I mean, hey, he got a chip on his shoulder. He got something to show for. So
let's not, let's not forget. Minshew had the Colts, playing in the division championship against the Texans.
Yeah,
basically was a drop away from who knows, possibly winning it. But thank you, my dad, my pops.
Hey, big fan, like always. Raiders pop in the house. So just keep on subscribing, you guys. If you don't subscribe now. This is where you're gonna get all that Raiders info. All right.
Thank you. All right, Raider Nation, we are back. We got Anthony Estrada in the building. Yo, salute to my primo. Is this a draft man cheating on our primo Nate? Haha, just joking. No, Nate's at work. He's probably gonna tune into this, trying to see what I'm gonna plan for. But I'm not in this draft. I'm here just talking with my family. This is the setup, you guys, that we have right now. You are going to see a Niner blocking possibly the draft board. I know that's, we don't like seeing Niner gear, but that is the draft board that we're working with. This is the scene you guys are going to see when the draft starts. But yeah, let me get some more of some former champions. We got 2021 champion, another Niner, Brittany Pacheco. A newlywed, by the way, also. So not only did she didn't get just one ring, she got 2 rings in the past 2 years. But winning in 2021, a champion. And didn't you have? I think you had what, the first pick in that draft? When was it? Did you have the first overall pick? When did you draft in 2021? If you can remember, what was your
I
draft
didn't have
position?
the first. I think I was like third or fourth.
Oh, so you still had an early
Yeah, I was
draft
early.
position, which most people, when it comes to drafting in fantasy, a lot of people don't like the top 5 drafts because of how long you gotta
Wait for them.
But I mean, what was the strategy going into
I
that
had none.
season?
That was the first. That was the first time I ever played. I had no strategy.
Hey, no strategy.
Called
Hey,
luck.
first time luck, right? First time luck. But
I put in a lot of claims that year.
yeah. So, but 2 years now, or 3 years, going into your third or fourth season now.
Third.
Third season. What's your strategy now? Do you have a strategy? What have you learned, like in your past fantasy seasons?
You need to have a good mix. Draft your running backs and wide receivers earlier. I used to focus on quarterback, and that didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and just knowing who's out there.
Now we see that you're a Niner fan. Christian McCaffrey is likely going to be the number one person that people are looking at for.
Yes, I'm looking at him.
What are some other Niners players that people might need to look at for fantasy?
Kittle for sure. Ayuk.
Okay.
Debo.
I like Ayuk because he's going into that. He's having issues with the contract with the Niners, and the NFL has shown in the past that players on contract years usually have a breakout year. Raiders know with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Contract year, he went on to have probably career year, and in fantasy, people were like, he's a top 5 running back. So Ayuk is probably going to be one of my sleepers. Now, your husband Teddy Pacheco said waiver wire is the biggest thing that you have to look forward to in the fantasy season. The draft can go either way, but half of the team, we must say, may not even play through. Be your team.
Yeah.
So what are some waiver wire players that you possibly think you can look at that may not even get drafted that you can look at? Maybe some running backs, maybe some quarterbacks. My dad said he had Jordan Love off the waiver wire, CJ Stroud off the waiver wire. I think some of these rookies. I'll give you an example. Caleb Williams. Will he be picked off the waiver wire? I mean, it's got to be. Will he be drafted? I mean, do you think he might be drafted? Yeah.
There's a new one out of Ohio State that's probably going to be drafted right away.
Yeah.
He's ranked number 11. What's his name? Ohio State, Dad.
What is it?
The new guy from Ohio State. Ranked number 11. Yeah.
Oh, what's his name? Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr.
He's either going to be drafted or he'll for sure be off.
Okay. I'll leave you with this. We're going to leave. What is one position throughout the draft you would give the viewers, but you also give to yourself as one, I got to attack, make sure I fill this position correctly?
Ooh, that's a good one. Tight end.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that. The top
I messed up on that last year, so it's gonna be a
what was your tight ends last year? You can remember.
I can't remember. Nobody good. I didn't do shit for me.
All right, well, thank you, Brittany. Good luck to the season.
Thank you.
That was a former champion, Brittany Pacheco. Hopefully she can get another champion. Raider Scorpio saying, great show. It's cool seeing family and friends gathering for some fantasy football. That is true. That's true. Guys, I apologize for the Wi-Fi being choppy. Like I said, we got tons of people here. They're going to be connected to the Wi-Fi also. So the Wi-Fi may be choppy, but I hope the audio is still good. Anthony Estrada has, hey, congrats, champ. Trust. Don't lose the real diamond ring. Hey, for real. But let's get to some more of these. We're going to go now into some sleepers, you guys. Some sleepers that Fantasy Pros is putting out there, you guys. Tight end Pat Freiermuth from Pittsburgh. He could be a sleeper. Now, we do got George Pickens out there, but no Deontay Johnson, as we known from last season. He's with Carolina. Pat Freiermuth is likely going to be that number 2 option. But the quarterback situation, you got Russell Wilson or Justin Fields battling it out. I don't know if the Steelers announced who's going to be the starter. Speaking of Deontay Johnson, a fantasy wide receiver sleeper for the Carolina Panthers. Also a fantasy sleeper that I think people should keep their eye on. Gus Edwards playing for the Chargers. He had some injury seasons with the Ravens, but when he was active, he was a player to look out, which, again, Gus Edwards. And Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. We know this time from his time in Michigan. So Gus Edwards is a guy that I would look at. And also, if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, Tyler Conklin, another tight end that you could possibly look at as a fantasy sleeper. And also Javonte Williams, fantasy sleeper running back. I really don't know given the injury. I believe he suffered either last season or 2 seasons ago. We don't know how running backs, specifically running backs, do after the season. They usually do not get right on the same foot. But another sleeper, surprisingly, is Kirk Cousins with Atlanta, a fantasy sleeper quarterback. Now, I don't really think he's a sleeper, really meaning because Kirk Cousins has always known to put up really good numbers fantasy-wise, guys. We're not talking about playoffs or anything like that. This is fantasy. This is about production, touchdowns. Kirk Cousins will give you the touchdowns, and I guarantee with Bijan Robinson, with Pitts out there, you are likely going to get a lot of numbers from Kirk Cousins. And we're going to go to another quarterback that is a sleeper, and that is Deshaun Watson, quarterback from Cleveland. He was, the Cleveland quarterback situation was up and down. Deshaun Watson got injured. Joe Flacco came in, and Joe Flacco still put up numbers with the Cleveland Browns. Now, given any news regarding Amari Cooper and the Niners and possibly trading, I mean, they're possibly, if that trade ever happens, they will get Brandon Ayuk. That is a known fact, but that is all rumors. But Deshaun Watson, a quarterback sleeper that you guys may have to look out for. Another fantasy wide receiver sleeper is Rashee Rice with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs did lead the league in drops. We know that, but Rashee Rice likely going to be that wide receiver one. Xavier Worthy, the rookie, he's probably going to be another wide receiver sleeper. But let's talk about the Raiders, you guys. The Raiders fantasy look. You got Gardner Minshew, the starting quarterback for the Raiders. I think he's going to be on the waiver wire. I don't think any fantasy owner should look at Gardner Minshew as even a quarterback 2 spot. If you do want to get him at quarterback 2, you can see how he looks throughout the season, but I'm not going to take my chance on Gardner Minshew. Quarterback 1, quarterback 2, injuries happen. You got to make sure you have a good starter and a good backup. Zamir White, question marks. He could be a decent running back backup. Maybe if you're going to look at him in the maybe 16th or 18th round, if you're going to go for some backup running backs, that is who I would look at for Zamir White, getting him as a backup running back. We talked about Devontae Adams, but what about his counterpart, Jacoby Myers? Now, Jacoby Myers, a solid wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 to put in your starting lineup or just to keep him on the bench. Jacoby Myers is a heavy red zone threat that put up 8 touchdowns last season with 3 quarterbacks that he had to play with. So I would definitely look at Jacoby Myers as a possibly wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, or even a backup wide receiver. I'm about to get there, Anthony. I'm gonna get a take on the defense. Give me a sec, man. Give me a sec. We got the actually, I'm gonna put the trophy right here. We can put it right here. Put it right here. This is a trophy that they are fighting for, you guys. Let me see. Anthony says, my cousin's boyfriend is a Packers fan, of course. Still fought for Rodgers. He should ride them to the playoffs this year. We were talking yesterday. If that does happen to him, again, he's calling it a career. I agree. Going into this defense, you guys, for the Raiders, like I said, the Raiders defense is not even a top 10 defense that most fantasy football websites are putting them up. A lot of cheat sheets are not rating them as a top 10 defense. I disagree. I think the Raiders are going to be a sleeper defense, and someone should have given them a chance. They're opening now. Are you going to start off with the season with them? Probably not. Now, you could take a chance on the Raiders defense, but their opponents is against the Chargers, against the Ravens, against the Panthers, against the Browns in the first 4 weeks. The Raiders defense has a good matchup against the Carolina Panthers in week 3. The Chargers and the Ravens are probably matchups that you're probably not going to bet too high on scoring wise, but they're possibly are going to get a lot of sacks. They got Max Crosby, Malcolm Koonce, Christian Wilkins on that defensive line, and this can be a turnover machine in the Raiders defense with Jack Jones getting 2 pick sixes in back-to-back weeks. Nate Hobbs looking like a shutdown slot corner. You also have Trayvon Merrick and Marcus Epps manning the safeties in the back. This is going to be a defense that I would take a chance on. Even using, if I have to take two defenses, I would take the Raiders to be a backup defense and possibly look at a defense that has better matchups in the first coming weeks. Raider Scorpio says Raiders defense is going to surprise us. I believe that. Chippy says Kurt is always good quarterback in fantasy. He is a good fantasy quarterback. I would definitely take a chance on him. Lee Kai says, "Sup, brother?" Yeah, sup with you, Lee Kai. We are talking fantasy football, you guys. We are getting former champions takes on the fantasy season, and let's see, who else are we gonna get? Who else are we gonna get? Let's see. We're gonna get a 29. I got the champs right here, you guys. We'll get a 2019 champ. Where's Matt? I need Matt Bilecki up here. We're gonna interview another former champion, 2019 fantasy football champion. Also, he didn't just win 2 rings. He's an Eagles fan. 2018, he got the ring for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's an Eagles fan. But Matt, thank you for coming on, man.
No problem. How you doing?
Doing good. You are a 2019 fantasy football champion.
Yes.
How did you finish last season?
Third place.
Third place. Okay, top 3, not too bad.
Yeah, and then I got second place in 2020 when Brittany won.
Okay.
She beat me. First year playing, I got beat by a rookie Fansburg. Yeah.
Oh man, that must really sting. You could have went back to back.
Yep.
We didn't do fantasy. I think you guys didn't do it in 2020.
Yeah, because of COVID.
Because of COVID. So you could have possibly went back to back.
I was trying, man. I was excited.
You was trying to go for the 3-peat.
Yeah.
Finishing the top 3.
Well, because I won in your league.
Yeah.
And then I was in second place in this league.
Yeah.
Man,
You went top 3 in basically 3 years.
Yeah, top 3. Yeah.
So what was the strategy going into those past 3 years?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you, my second question is, how does the strategy different going into 2024?
So what I will say is this. One thing that I've learned about fantasy is any league you go into, you need to look at the settings, you need to look at the scoring, because I think every league has different scoring and different ways of, like they range on the weighting on position. And that's my big thing. So with this particular league, which I'm not going to say too much about because I'm about to draft.
Yeah.
But there's certain positions that are weighted heavier, and that's my whole thing. So I look at the settings, I look at the scoring, and I build my model from there. So that's what it is. So I could, I'm in 4 leagues. One league I could, I might draft a quarterback in the first 2 rounds because they're heavily weighted, and the other league I'll wait till the 5th round or something.
Yeah.
So
and this is a standard league. Teddy Pacheco shared that with us.
Yeah.
Mine is a PPR league.
Yeah.
So the wide receivers do change because
100.
Going to my league, you're gonna target a wide receiver that gets heavy targets
Because you have 3
receptions.
wide receiver sets. Yep.
And 3 wide receivers.
Yep.
In this one, you got 2 wide receivers,
Yep.
but their receptions are not counted to their scoring.
Right.
So how does that strategy different in choosing wide receivers? Because a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who gets a lot of targets, a lot of receptions,
Exactly.
but may not get a lot of yards or a lot of touchdowns.
Yep.
I even talked about Devontae Adams. He
Yep.
gets a lot of targets, but not a lot of touchdowns.
Exactly.
He had 8, but
Yeah.
with Garner Minshew, he
Yep.
might
Yep.
the numbers may decline.
Right. Yep.
So how does that strategy
Yeah.
differ? You're not gonna go for those top,
Yeah.
like maybe Tyreek Hill, who gets 5 catches for
Yeah.
86 yards
Yeah.
and 1 touchdown.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. And it's funny because that's what I really appreciate about this league is the fact that it is standard. Because I would say that probably, like I said, I play in 4 leagues, and 90% of anybody I talk to plays PPR. Like standard scoring is just a thing that's almost onto the wayside.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that it is that, and in that, and again, that's part of the settings of the scoring because that plays into it. Because when you think about it, like a Amon-Ra Brown, that's the perfect example of somebody who is a freaking superstar in PPR.
Yes.
But in standard, how many touchdowns did Amon-Ra Brown have last year? I mean, he didn't have a ton. And then how many catches? But his points just stack up on like having 10 catches.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So for me, in a league like this, nobody's looking right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking for big plays, long plays. So like a Tyreek Hill is huge in a league like this because even though he may only have 4 catches, he has like 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Right.
Mhm.
That's why it's a
definitely go a
different
long
standard.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why running backs are important in this league too, because again, you're getting the touchdowns. The thing in this league is long plays and touchdowns. That's the big thing you got to look for. So
You gotta look for that big play.
Yeah.
And going into the 2024 season, depending on where you're drafted, I know
Yeah.
everyone has a different
Yeah,
strategies.
yeah.
I'm gonna leave it with the hard one. Number 1 overall pick. Are you going for a Christian McCaffrey? I mean,
It's hard not to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to. To be honest, yes. So the answer to your question, I would probably do Christian McCaffrey because how can you fight the stats?
Yeah,
It's hard not to. I don't care if you're PPR or non-PPR. That guy's just he's outside. You got the mean, the standard deviation, then you have Christian McCaffrey. He's like outside of the normal. He's just like he's a cheat code pretty
Yeah.
much, like Tyreek in some ways. But yeah, it would be that.
I would, and I don't want to give your strategy away. This is my last question.
That's all good. Appreciate
Patrick Mahomes not being rated a top 3
Yeah.
quarterback in
Yeah.
fantasy and kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
And it's coming from a Raider fan. I'm supposed to hate Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
in fantasy, I gotta give my respect to
you
him.
got to.
They got, I've seen some websites. They got Josh Allen
Allen,
number 1,
Hurts,
Hurts. You may
my
like
boy,
that.
my guy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then they got who they have. I have brought it here. They got Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But Anthony Richardson being 5. I mean, how does that kind of make you feel? That being the kind of the top 5 list.
I had Anthony Richardson on one of my other leagues, and he was my second pick, right? He was my second quarterback, and I started playing him because, like, early in the season, he was killing it. But I was watching those hits he was taking, and I was like, man, this guy's going to get his bell rung, and it's going to be bad. So I had to make sure that, I kept an eye on it. So Anthony Richards, the only thing I'd say about Richardson is the one thing I'd say about him is I hope the coaches really just nailed into his head that he needs to go down, slide. He can't be taking the hits he does because when he's not taking those hits, the way his preseason, he looked bad the other night, but last season, the way he throws, and if you can run like that, he's like a Lamar, like on a little bit on steroids.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I like him, but I just think you got to take it. If you're gonna, here's my advice: if you're gonna take Richardson, take like someone like a Kirk Cousins or like a Aaron Rodgers or something like that to have a good backup just in case, because he's gonna probably get hurt. So
Well, thank you, Matt.
absolutely,
Good
man.
luck on
Hey,
the season.
thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
All right, man.
All right, that is Matt, a former 2019 champion. Hopefully, to change that name, that title name from former to current champion. But anyways, you guys keep pouring in. We got Raider Scorpio saying, "Love the interview, getting some tips from past fantasy champs, so I can get ready for my fantasy draft." Always. I'm looking over here. We might need to bring a more recent champion. We had Teddy who won last year in 2023, but we're gonna bring a 2022 champ, Michael. How do you say that last name? Kibbe? Michael Kibbe. Michael Kibbe is gonna come up and interview. Nice to meet you, man. Thank you for coming on. You won in 2022, bringing the championship back, but unfortunately, it is not coming back to you. It went to Teddy. But going into 2022, going throughout the season, we all know draft isn't the team you're rolling with or that you draft usually isn't the team that you're going to have for the entire season. Most people are saying the waiver wire. That is, past champs have said waiver wire. What was the key to 2022's championship win? Like your strategy?
Mine was the draft.
Oh,
I got hitters all in the top part of the draft, and they just performed all year. So
What were some key names if you could shout out that year?
I know
If you
Diggs,
can remember.
Diggs and Waddle, and I had somebody else. I can't remember who, but another. I was 3 receiver heavy, and it carried me through the whole season.
Yeah, that was funny you said that because I was wide receiver heavy in my draft, and I won the championship this past year, and I feel that's really what won me was my wide receiver. Going back to going to quarterbacks, the NFL released a stat that there were 66 different starting quarterbacks last year. Hopefully, God forbid, quarterbacks stay healthy. We see what happened with Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Richardson. A lot of quarterbacks went down last season. How does the mindset go into drafting quarterbacks this season?
I'm used to finding them off the waiver wire. Most of my quarterbacks through all these years have just gotten hurt, and I've had to put other people in. I've drafted Lamar twice, and he's never finished the season. So I'm digging on the waiver wire. My team in this league is always the injured team. So always searching for people. Luckily, receivers have always stayed healthy and stayed good for me.
Yeah.
The previous year, I had Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, and I probably should have won that year.
Yeah, they were going off those years. Yeah.
So that was the same thing. Receivers just carried me.
Now, I went on a website, fantasypros.com, and their top 5 quarterbacks was Josh Allen, number 1 in fantasy, number 2, Jalen Hurts, number 3, Lamar Jackson, number 4, Patrick Mahomes, and number 5, Anthony Richardson. I wanted to ask, do you even agree with that list?
Oh, heck no.
And who would be what would be the surprise on that list being rated where they are.
Oh, Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Shouldn't even be there.
yeah,
They, not good reports about him on camp,
yeah.
and I'll stay away from that.
Yeah, Matt was talking about that you got to kind of get a safety blanket with Anthony Richardson. I don't want to give your strategy away too much, but what is a position that you think, okay, I got to go into this draft really eyeing, making sure I come out of this draft with that top position, whether that's quarterbacks, running back, wide receiver group.
Receiver.
Okay, I agree because I think that's what
I think it's been 10 years since running back was the number one king to just go and
dominate early draft. Yeah.
There's no bell cow running back. There might be 3 or 4, but if you don't got Christian McCaffrey, you got guys sharing the load. So.
And I think that's why whoever has that, I always said, whoever has that number 1 pick, I think it's written on the board. Christian McCaffrey's going number 1. So outside of that, I mean, like you said, who can you really target at running back? I mean, but yeah, I mean, good luck on the season, man. Hey, hopefully when we come back next season, you be champion, 2024 champ.
No, that's me.
All right, you guys, let me see. Anthony says, I'm surprised. I'm supposed to have a $25 league. I did one already. I feel really good about my starting players week 1. Let's get more into the cheat sheet, you guys. Top running backs. Outside of Christian McCaffrey, number 1 being obvious, you got Breece Hall with the Jets. Number 2, Bijan Robinson with Atlanta. Jonathan Taylor, number 4, and Derrick Henry with Baltimore. Again, I'm going to have to disagree with this list. Derrick Henry going to Baltimore is actually going to hurt his fantasy stock. You have Lamar Jackson, who is the king of running quarterbacks. He is a quarterback run-first type of player. So when they get in the red zone, he is going to want to get those rushing touchdowns. They're not going to want to hand it off. So Derrick Henry, I don't think is going to be a running back 1 that you guys should possibly look at. I would probably move Jahmyr Gibbs. They have him at 6. I will move him to number 5. Jahmyr Gibbs, coming from Detroit, had a really good rookie campaign, and I think he's going to have a very, very better sophomore campaign just with the amount of talent that Detroit has. A sleeper that I've had last year, and he's coming off slightly off an injury, but Travis Etienne Jr. He's a guy that he's not a CMC, but he's another guy that is going to be a dual threat running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming out of the backfield, being able to receive and catch passes out of the backfield, possibly taking them from touchdowns. He caught one in this past preseason. In this preseason, he caught 1 touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence. So they seem to have a good rapport there. Travis Etienne will likely be my sleeping running back. And going into the top wide receivers, you guys, you got Tyreek Hill. I don't think that's any surprise right there. You got CeeDee Lamb at number 2, Jamar Chase number 3, Justin Jefferson number 4, and Amon-Ra St. Brown at number 5. I agree with this list, you guys. Justin Jefferson, I would not put him in the top 3. Tyreek Hill, he's definitely going to give you the yards. He's going to give you the touchdowns. Will he give you the receptions? It's a week-to-week basis because he could give you 5 catches, $150, 2 touchdowns, and depending on your league, standard league, that can win you that would win you your games. In a PPR league, probably not. You're gonna get the touchdowns, you're gonna get the yards, but the PPR, you're gonna get 5 points out of it. As in a standard league, you're gonna get a lot of those points coming on the big plays and of course the touchdowns. Devontae Adams is going to be number 17. I actually think he should be bumped up to top 15, but I don't disagree with that, him being 17, because of the quarterback situation. You do have Marvin Harrison Jr., a rookie, rated at number 11. You got Puka Nacua. That is another sleeper wide receiver who came onto the scene last season as a rookie. When Cooper Kupp went down, he took over that number 1 role with Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford and him are just coming back in year 2 to have a better season. Top 5 tight ends that we are going to talk about. Oh, thank you, Dad. I'm hungry. Top tight ends we are going to talk about. Number 1, Sam Laporta out of Detroit. Number 2, Travis Kelce with Kansas City. Number 3, Mark Andrews when he's not injured. Number 4, surprise, Trey McBride with Arizona. Number 5, George Kittle with San Francisco. Trey McBride, we'll see how Kyler Murray depends the quarterback situation. With Kyler Murray, we also got to see how this passing attack plays without Cliff Kingsbury. Not being did he go to Arizona? Yeah, I think he went to Arizona, right? I don't, or was he the head coach? I don't know who the OC is. I'm pretty sure. I think was it Cliff? I'm not sure. Someone answered that. But for Raiders' sake, Brock Bowers is rated number 11 tight end on fantasy. We've seen Luke Getsy already draw up a lot of plays with Brock Bowers. He didn't play in the past 2 preseason games, but in week 1 against the Vikings, we lined him up in the wide, in the X, far outside wide, sometimes in the slot, and then sometimes on the inside playing that tight end spot. Some defense teams, you guys. Baltimore Ravens, number 1. New York Jets, number 2. The Niners coming in at 3. The Dallas Cowboys coming in at 4. And the Cleveland Browns coming in at 5. I don't think there's any surprise there. I don't really see any need on that rankings at all. And then for the Raiders, they are actually going to come in at 19. Like my dad said, and like I said, they got to prove it. They have to prove that they are a top 10 defense. Would I pick them in the draft? Depending how the draft is go, if you're with the Raider fan, probably you want to pick the Raiders defense because they're likely going to pick them. But if you think it is safe that the Raiders are not going to get drafted, then yes, you can wait till the waiver wire and wait till your starting defense. Or if you want to pick up the Raiders as a backup defensive team, which most people do not carry 2 defense teams. But if the Raiders is a surprise team that you think that you have confidence in, that they're going to surprise people and get a lot of sacks, get a lot of turnovers to get those points up, take them as your backup. The top kickers in fantasy are going to be Justin Tucker. I don't think he's been dominating fantasy for the past few years. You got Brandon Aubrey with Dallas, Harrison Butker with Kansas City, Kai Fairburn with Houston, and Jason Sanders with Miami. I'm surprised Daniel Carlson isn't up here, but he did have a few misses last season. Kickers are inconsistent, but your safest bet is Justin Tucker. But mostly Aubrey, Butker, Fairbairn, they had their fair share of misses last season. But Justin Tucker, I mean, when you're going for that kicker, if you're going for that first kicker taken off the board, it is going to be a Justin Tucker. Now, for those leagues, just like this one, that are playing with defensive players, your top defensive players are going to be Foyesade Alukun from Jacksonville, Roquan Smith from Baltimore, Zaire Franklin from Indianapolis, and Ernest Jones from the Rams, and Bobby Orecki from the Giants. Fred Warner, TJ Edwards, Bobby Wagner, just to name a few. You got Nick Bolton with Kansas City. Max Crosby with the Raiders, but I will go linebacker and Robert Spillane, you guys. But if you guys do want to go defensive end, guys who gets a lot of tackles, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, probably if you're going to go defensive end, those are the 2 guys I would go for. Let me see more into the chat, you guys. We got no one in the chat, but that is all right. That is all right. Let me go more into some of these fantasy. Let me see what else we got. Some other notable quarterbacks, you guys. I'm going to see where Gardner Minshew is rated. Gardner Minshew, I believe, is probably the 32nd. Gardner Minshew is actually the 33rd rated quarterback in Fantasy Pros. So in fantasy, do not take any Raiders quarterbacks. I said it. I do not disagree with that. So top 10 quarterbacks you guys are going to probably eye is 1, Josh Allen, 2, Jalen Hurts, 3, Patrick Mahomes, 4, Lamar Jackson, 5, Anthony Richardson, 6, CJ Stroud, 7, Kyler Murray, 8, Joe Burrow, 9, Dak Prescott, and 10, Jordan Love. Those are going to be your top 10 quarterbacks, you guys. But let's see if we can get one more on here. I think actually we are going to let me see. Leave it here. Thank you, Raider Scorpio, for that. We're gonna stay here, guys, and we're gonna wait for draft. People are just eating right now. We are getting ready to go. Oh yeah, we got one more. 2015 champ Johnny Flores is going to come, and we got another interview, guys. Another interview. Welcome, Johnny. Thank you
you
for
doing?
coming on to the podcast.
No problem.
You are a one-time champ from
One-time
2015.
cap. Yeah.
But if there are some things you could take out, I mean, you've been playing this league since
Since they started.
So, what are some tips you can probably give to
See,
people?
I'm not the guy to get tips from because I just play just to play. And I got lucky when I won. But I am the only one that has the belt.
Okay.
These guys got to share a trophy. I don't. But yeah.
So,
And
what would be your strategy then going to the draft? Are you just like kind of wing it, or?
yeah, I wing it. I go best possible player,
Oh well.
and whatever happens, happens.
All
Because
right.
every time I pick a good player, he gets hurt.
Injuries happen. So
Injury,
a lot of people have been talking about the waiver wire.
right?
So will you say, does the draft really kind of matter? Because most of the team that you're going with on that draft, half of them might even get injured, and you got to go to the waiver wire anyway.
I like sticking to my picks.
Okay.
But because we got 12 people.
Yeah.
I mean, all the players go quick, so whatever happens, happens. That's how I feel.
Now, I talked about the top quarterbacks that Fantasy Pros has rated. They got Anthony Richardson, number 5, and a lot of people have been saying that's a surprise, rating him as a 5th best fantasy quarterback.
That's too high.
I think that's too high.
That's too
He had good games before he got injured, but he only played in 4.
Yeah, but
So
if
that's
he
the
keeps
problem.
running, he's going to keep getting hurt.
Yeah. And I'll ask you that. Do you tend to go for running quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson? They get more points. A lot of people say.
I like drafting like Patrick Mahomes. But
yeah. He's like
I drafted him last year and he didn't do too good for me.
He wasn't good on the.
Yeah.
He only had 27 touchdowns,
Right.
14 interceptions, and
But-
surprisingly had no rushing touchdowns
You're right.
at all.
But if he's there, I'm taking him.
Yeah, I mean he's
Because
still one of the
yeah.
best.
Right.
He's still one of the best.
Oh, yeah.
Going if you have the first overall pick, I asked is Christian McCaffrey is likely going to be that taken, but will you go surprise pick at number 1
hell
overall?
yeah! I'm gonna stir shit up.
You like
it ain't gonna be CM.
you want to be that Atlanta
Yeah.
Falcons and mess up the whole draft board.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Kirk Cousins. You never know.
All right. Well, Johnny, you won it once. Hopefully, you win it again.
I
in
hope so.
2024.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. We are 57 minutes in to the live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. What? Damn. Oh. Heck. All right. Well, I got it. And with that, but guys, we are gonna take a break. We are gonna wait until the draft officially starts. So until then, we're gonna leave you with this beauty of all the past champions. This is what they are gonna be fighting for. We're gonna take a break, you guys. I'll be back. See you guys in a bit.
all over the same shit I do every year. Whew, something changes. All right, so
You switch it?
first things first. Thank you guys for coming back again. I know we're you're 11. You're 13. You're 11.
No.
Some of us have been the original since day one, and we're still here. So, and I'm always trying to upgrade it or change it to something better, so you guys can always have fun. I don't want my shit to get monotonous, you know what I mean? And get boring. That's why we did the podcast today. We're doing it here at my dad's house, over the shade, and having fucking Carl cook for us. So thank you, Carl.
Yeah.
For cooking for us.
Hot sauce though.
And my cousin doing a podcast. Another something different for you guys. For the new guys, we got a couple new guys to the party. And we got Avi, we got Morales coming back, and we got Prasad. They're new to the party, but
Welcome.
we'll initiate them. There's gonna be a lot of shit talking.
Oh yeah. Initiation not fucking.
It may be personal at some time. It may be personal. If you take my waiver wire, we might fight, but it's okay. We might fight. But just to go over the points real quick, because some of these guys are new. Like I said, everything is there's no PPR. There's no PPR. It's all standard. So pretty much for every 10 yards that your running back, your receiver, or your quarterback does, you're getting a point for it. Right? If you score a touchdown, it's 6 points, like it would be any other touchdown. But you can lose points too. So if you throw a pick six, or you fumble a ball, or you throw in an interception, or you get sacked, you're gonna see deduction. Same thing with kickers. If they miss, you're getting deducted. Really? You're getting a point taken away. You're getting a point taken away. So you might want to get a kicker that's a little and it adds up. Trust me. You know, those kickers get a little wobbly. They miss one, they might miss 10. They might miss 10. They might miss 10. Our league is a little bit different because we've always done a defensive player, right? And for those new guys, just hone in on maybe a linebacker or say free safety. That's all I'm going to tell you. Just because you understand it's point per tackle. For every tackle that they get, they're getting a point. And interception, pass block, pass blocks, interception, sacks. Just be mindful of that stuff. There's no trades, so we've always done no trades. So this is nothing new for the guys that've been here, right? But we're on year 11 of no trades. But that's because we don't let people cahoot and get in cahoots and talk about, well, I want this guy, I want that guy, and I don't want to be responsible for approving a trade or not approving a trade. So then you're like, well, the commissioner didn't think that trade was cool. You know what I mean? So if I don't do no trades, then they never falls on my shoulder. So
Question.
We're talking about one trade.
No, there will be one trade, and that will be at the end of the draft.
Okay.
So after 16 rounds, after we do our 16 rounds, there will be 30 minutes, and we can do a trade where everybody agrees together. So it won't be just one person. As long as we all say it's even, you can right? Last year, for example, I'm going to call my boy Chewy. Chewy wanted to trade. He had CeeDee Lamb. He traded him away from Garrett Wilson, which on paper was fine, but he ended up buying him in the end. But something like that, we'll prove it, and then we'll move it right then and there. Tonight, when everything's said and done, I will input the teams. You should see the team there. It should be on there automatically. So if you have any questions about point scoring, you can look on the app. I'll tell you everything on there, and you don't have to worry about nothing. The waiver wire kind of works the same exact way. If you go on, you'll look. It's a snake order. It's a rover. It's an app. It goes in order of draft too. So when you're like, well, I didn't get my guy. Well, I look at your week, dog. But you just gotta. What happens is people put like 7 or 8 waiver wire claims. It's gonna give you the very first one that you got, right? If you're looking for number 2 and you didn't get number 2, it's because number 1 is what you got. And I cannot change nothing. Once it's final, it's final. The board for the new guys, right? Once you put it on the board, it is final. Jesse drafted a dead guy. Jesse drafted a dead guy and made the statement. But it was too late.
Dude, I shot 5 minutes for the draft.
You got 5 minutes. But Jesse made it work. Jesse finally let him make it work. And he's back for the 4th year. Third year. It can't be that bad. Besides that, I'm gonna go over how we're going to distinguish what the order was going to be. Because last year we did a drink game. This year it's still a drink game. But what's gonna happen is we're all going to pull a card. It's going to go from lowest card to highest card is going to determine what order we're going to throw the ping pong ball. Now, on the bottom of every cup is your number. But to get that number, you have to drink what's in that cup. So if it's a full beer, you got to shot it. You got to shoot it and shoot the whole thing. If it's a double shot, you got to shoot that too. But on the bottom of it, it will be your number. It will be your number. Hey, what your number? Hey, we'll have Brittany will write the names on there, and that will be the order. And the draft is a snake draft for the new guys. So, for example, if you're pick number 1, you're not picking for 24 picks because it's going to go 1 to 12, 12 to 1.
Next year, maybe.
1 to 12, 12 to 1. So that's for the new guys. It's always been a snake draft. It's never been nothing different. So if you get first pick, you're not picking for 24 picks. If you're 12 pick, you're not picking for 24 picks after your pick, but you get 2 picks. So once it goes to 12, you get 1 pick, 2 picks, and then I'll go back this way. Okay? Same thing. And then once it gets back to 1, one's going to get 2 picks. Then go back to that's for payouts. Payouts. Okay. So the payouts. I always talk about the payouts because that's my thing what everybody likes the most. Right? I think it's $1,500 for first place. So if you get for first place, you're getting $1,500. The weekly payout went up. I think when Morales was in, it was $40. We moved it to $60. So now it's $60. Yeah. $60 per week if you win. Now the payouts for the weekly are at the end of the year. So don't think we're gonna Brittany's gonna send you $60 right out the gate. But weekly payout, but the weekly payouts work. Score for that week. Whoever has the highest score for that week wins $60. Okay. Automatically. We also used to do highest score for the year, right? So if you were in week 2 and you had 200 points and it was the highest score for the week, you got $200. So this year we changed it. We added something different. So you still will get paid if you get the highest score for the whole year. But now we're gonna pay you for the total combined points for the whole season. So if you get 200 into week 2 and your total combined is like 3,000 points for the whole year, you're gonna get $100. All right. So you get $100 for the highest score for the year, and I get $100 for the total points. Yeah, instead of being 200 for the highest, it's now 100. That's cool. So that's something different. Yeah, exactly. You got hella points. Am I missing anything else? Missing anybody else?
Second and third place.
Oh yeah,
Second and third place. Yes.
1,500 for first.
Second place is $600. So hey, that championship game makes a big difference.
Second place is
$600.
money.
And third place is $400.
So hey, I came in third place last year, but I won $900 because I won like 2 or 3 weekly ones and the high score of the year. So third place, I tripled my money by buying. So it just shows it's really cool system. Yeah, that was cool.
I like donating my money.
Oh yeah, hey, and there's one more thing. Brittany's pregnant.
Oh!
We're gonna break the news today. No, that's a representative, right? Her dad. So we have a baby. We do have a baby on the way. So just wanted to let you guys know. Hey, keep it in house because we haven't broken the news on social media yet. She's definitely pregnant. Just letting you guys know. Listen, and it's twins. I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say.
How many times? I'm kidding. Anyway,
So are we good?
we set up. We'll get that on the road. So enjoy and have fun. Right? Don't get nervous, dude.
All right, we are back, you guys. We are back. And with that, I'm going to call a fellow Primo up. Got my man Roman. My Primo Roman's going to come up. He's going to talk about, I'm going to give him the opportunity. We got a future fantasy football player here, my buddy Roman. How you doing, Roman? Doing good. All right, I want to make sure the speaker gets you. How you feeling about your Niners this season?
I think
Got-
we have a good chance.
Yeah.
I hope we make it to the championship this year.
You guys hope you don't play with Mahomes again because
I hope we don't.
Mahomes kind of owns you guys right now. You guys are 0-3
My
against him.
cousin's on that team, so I don't know where it's.
Oh, yeah. Hey, it's a win-win kind of thing then. But you are a future fantasy player too. You say you're helping your dad out.
Yeah, my dad's partner.
So what Niners you guys nine?
Can't tell you.
And you can tell me that. He's checking both of us out. We know Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs and they're rated number 1. How do you feel about? I said a sleeper wide receiver that a lot of people probably they look at Kittle, they look at Debo. I think Ayuk is going to have a really big year, better than Kittle, better than Debo because of the contract issues he's having with the Niners right now. Do you agree that Ayuk could probably be that number 1 guy?
Yeah, he could be that, depending on if he still plays for the Niners.
Yeah.
Depending on, because the Niners, I think they're gonna have another blow up season like last year. Last year they were one of the best teams.
What do you mean by like blow ups? Like they're gonna have to trade him away and trade all.
If they trade him to the Raiders, then the Raiders.
Well, I don't think the Raiders will trade for him. I only say that because we don't have a quarterback that him and the Jaden Daniels connection. The Browns is a team that a lot of people are picking up on, but possibly Niners could get Cooper if that trade does happen. But we don't know. But yeah. I mean, anything else, Roman? You want to say about like the Niners season?
The Niners, their season, I think. This year, I think Purdy said like his year.
Yeah, he's going into his third year.
His third year, I think he's gonna be better this year.
And I speak from experience. Derek Carr in his third year, he took that kind of elite status, and then of course, unfortunately, he had the leg break that year. So hey, maybe Purdy can have that for him too. I'm looking at the end of you guys are opening against the Jets Monday Night Football, going against Aaron Rodgers. Now last time we seen Aaron Rodgers. Hey, hopefully he doesn't, because whoever's gonna draft him, they don't want to. But how are you feeling about that game going against Aaron Rodgers to open up the season?
Well, all I know is that I hope he gets injured first game.
Why we hoping injury?
Because,
we don't want to hope for injuries.
Yeah, open injuries because their backup ones. We all know their backup QB sucks.
Oh yeah, well they don't even have backup. So, but yeah, thank you, Roman, for coming up. My primo Roman, rooting on his Niners for the season, and he's repping Kittle. He's repping Kittle here. They are getting the draft order all set. Let's see. I'll let you guys know who is going to be in the draft order. They are getting the draft order ready. All right. I'm gonna turn the camera, y'all. Getting the draft order ready, y'all. Getting the draft order ready. Sun is coming out. The numbers. Salute. Hope you in fantasy. Hopefully you like some fantasy. I already turned it, but you can't really see. It's good. Salute the numbers. We talked about the Raiders preview, you guys, or recap of the preseason so far. 0-2-1. The Raiders didn't really have a good preseason, record-wise, but it is more about evaluation. We have not seen the starters yet. Week 1 is in about 2 weeks, you guys, going against the Chargers. I really think the Raiders can pull out a win, but it is going to come down to the Raiders' offense and Gardner Minshew. How are they going to start off fast? AP said he wanted to start off fast. I don't know, man. Like Zamir White, question mark. Gardner Minshew, question mark. Offensive line, question mark. You know, how is Brock Bowers going to fit it? Luke Getsy, question mark. It's going to be a very, very interesting year. Very, very interesting year. My dad's coming back. What draft position did you get?
Not yet. Not
Oh,
yet.
not yet. I interviewed him. Let me get it. Let me ask you this real quick, then. Let me ask you, if you get, depending where you draft,
Let me get back in here.
let's say you get an early draft pick, middle draft pick, late draft pick. What strategy is it? Let's say if you have a middle of the draft pick, which
It all depends on how the draft, who they taking. I mean, I really want a running back because there's not really a lot of like running back cowbells, running backs that you can count on. You know, they're all using all these two quarterback style nowadays. But my strategy is trying to get a running back as soon as I can, a good running back. Now, who that could be, I'm still thinking. You know, who should I pick? If anybody got advice, let me know. You know, who's out there that could surprise me.
they said Brees Hall with the Jets, but
Brees Hall, yeah, I mean, last year I really thought Brees Hall was gonna be the man, and Jets also used two running back. You just don't know. Like Brees Hall could be the man for this week, but then next week, who knows? That's how football is, you know, is nowadays. You know, I remember back when I was like in the 90s. You knew who was your number one. You knew who was your number one running back. Your running back ran the ball 3 times every time. You knew. Nowadays, you just don't know. You just don't know how it's gonna work out.
yeah. Well, thank you, Dad, for coming back.
It's all about. But I let you guys know what I'm gonna pick because I still don't know yet. But as soon as I find out, because I need some help. You know, maybe, you guys probably know some tips that I don't know. I need to get my 4th.
4-3.
I gotta get my 4th. You know.
All right. Good luck, Dad.
Oh, yeah, I'll be back. Subscribe.
All right, we got the championship here with us. This is what my dad is trying to chase. We got all the past champions here. And you guys can see here's the past champions. And hopefully 2024 will be my dad's name on there. Let me see. Let me get into more. Let me get into another cheat sheet, you guys. Let's see some more. Let's look at some running backs, you guys, and some projections. You got Bijan Robinson from Atlanta. An expert note said that the Arthur Smith experience capsized what could have been an enormous rookie season for Robinson. He ranked 9th in snap share, 3rd in targets, 6th in receptions, and 4th in receiving yards among running backs. But he finished as the running back 17 in fantasy points per game. Robinson was the running back 12 in expected fantasy points per game, but his opportunity shared ranked 31st, and he was also 32nd in red zone touches, with Smith's assistance on utilizing Tyler Aguilera. If Robinson receives the bulk of the high leverage touches under the new Falcons regime, he could crush in 2024. Last year, he ranked 23rd in explosive run rate, 17th in yards after contact per attempt, and 25th in yards per route run per fantasy points data. Robertson is a lot in a running back 1 overall for 2021. Another running back that we talked about, Derrick Henry. Expert note, some players are simply built different. Henry has and remains one of those guys. Last year at age 29, he ranked 1st in rushing attempts and 2nd in rushing yards, while showing little drop-off in his efficient metrics. Last season, among 68 qualifying running backs, Henry ranked 9th in explosive run rate and 11th in yards after contact per attempt per fantasy points data. While he will cross the dreaded age 30 threshold this year, it's tough to project a drop-off for Henry, and any reasons that he can't continue to chug along as a running back 1, especially when Henry has proven over the last 2 seasons that his pass game utility should increase despite his advancing age. Over the last 2 years, Henry has ranked 11th and 14th in TPRR and 7th in first in YPRR among backs. The big fellow isn't slowing down. Continue to believe in the king in 2024 as the Ravens' workhorse back. My only issue with that statement is that he's with the Baltimore Ravens, and you have Lamar Jackson. You have Lamar Jackson as a starting quarterback who, like I said, he is a run-first type of quarterback. He always looks to run. But my sleeper pick, Jahmyr Gibbs, you guys, running back. He is the 6th, and he is dealing with a hamstring injury, you guys. But he is going into the 2023 season. He had 7 points against Kansas City first, 9, 8, 7. But then he really started to take off after missing time in Carolina against Tampa Bay. He had 23.1 points against the Raiders. He had 27.4 against the Chargers, 24.7 against Chicago, 18.5. And then against Chicago again, he had 15.7. Denver, 23.8, and Minnesota, 22 points even. Another one that I looked at, Travis Etienne Jr. He had a solid latest news on Travis Etienne. He did carry the ball 7 times for 46 yards. He also caught his only target for 3 yards in the Jaguars 31-0 win over the Falcons. His fantasy outlook. He is usually the 7th running back taken off the board. Expert note from Derek Brown says that from a top-down view, Etienne's 23 season looks like a smashing success as he was the running back 7 in fantasy points per game, logging 325 touches with 1,484 yards, total yards, and 12 total touchdowns. If you rostered him last year, you know that his weekly performances left something to be desired down the stretch. And it was a Jekyll and Hyde type of run out. In the weeks 1 through 8, he averaged 22.3 touches and 106.2 total yards as a running back 4 in fantasy points per game. After week 9, he saw a big dip in his production as he averaged 16.3 touches and 70.5 total yards for the rest of the season. As the running back 22 in fantasy points per game, Etienne deserves to be in the running back 1 conversation for 2024, but we can't ignore these splits and the Jaguars' offensive line that finished 32nd in fantasy points, rush grade, and adjusted yards before contact per attempt. Etienne could easily improve upon last year's stats in 2024, but the Jaguars have work up front to do this offseason. That is a little bit of insight on some running backs, you guys. We'll look at number 11th ranked tight end into fantasy, Brock Bowers. An expert note said widely considered one of the best tight end prospects to enter the league in recent years. Brock Bowers went to the Raiders with the 13th overall pick of the NFL draft. The 6'4", 230-pound Bowers had at least 56 catches and 714 receiving yards in all 3 of his seasons at the University of Georgia. He also scored 31 touchdowns in 40 collegiate games, including 5 rushing touchdowns. Bowers has a good speed, terrific hands, and he's an absolute beast after the catch. He lacks prototypical tight end size, but Bowers plays bigger than he measures. Although the Raiders have one of the shakier QB situations in the league and have a target hog receiver in Devontae Adams, Bowers should nevertheless become fantasy relevant right away because of his extraordinary athleticism and pass catching ability. That is one of our sleepers at tight ends. And right now we are going to go right back to the commissioner.
When you pull your player, you're gonna put it on the board, say his name. Because he's gonna.
So I'm number 10.
Everyone's gonna do it on.
Oh, my dad's number 10.
Number 10. All right, number 10.
So, Bobby's.
You got a pen?
Bobby is on the clock.
That's in the thing.
Starting now. You get a pen? No.
Floppy.
No, we don't have extra pen. We got a pen. There's a pen there though.
Oh.
I see an extra pen.
Take it.
Yeah, come on.
And the draft is open.
All right. So McCaffrey's out. Number 10 pick, man.
We got a number 10 pick.
Not bad.
In the second round, you should take Devontae Adams. This is one
What?
of the receivers this year that has overall wide receiver one upside.
Don't take him. Take him.
Let's see, somebody was trying to pick Devontae early.
Yeah, of course.
Christian McCaffrey's taken first overall.
You know he's hurt.
Here we go, 2024. This is how I drafted from the sixth pick in our fantasy football league that pays out $100K to first place. In the first round, we took Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh, I'm glad you're sharing all your info with us. Thank you.
We're gonna stay here for the first round, you guys.
Yeah. Hey, Ruggs is still available.
Tom Brady's available.
Tom Brady.
Kaepernick is available.
Yeah.
Sanders.
I'll take Walter Payton. All right.
Uh-oh. Come on, Brittany.
Take Jalen Hurts.
You pay for your baby.
Close to the end, the music starts playing.
Oh yeah, she's on RP. It's gonna be Bijan or Brees. I just don't know which one.
Take Eric Gray.
Who is that?
We're keeping it in the family. Keeping it in the family.
Oh, Pacheco.
Isaiah Pacheco, number 2.
Wow.
Isaiah Pacheco, number 2.
That was where's that sticker that say awful pick? They put a sticker awful pick.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill is taking off the board, number 3.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson.
So Bijan.
Bijan Robinson.
He's in there.
Bijan Robinson. Expert note from Bijan Robinson: the Arthur Smith experience capsized what would have been an enormous rookie season for Robinson. He ranked 23rd in explosive run rate, 17th in yards after contact per attempt, and 25th in yards per route run per fantasy points data. Robinson is locked to be a running back 1 overall for 2024.
Who's the next pick?
Try to keep the names in order too.
Let's see.
I'm picking Teddy Pacheco for my draft.
As quarterback.
Yeah, you want to do your little
Brees Hall is number 5th overall.
Brees Hall?
Yep, his outlook, despite recuperating from an extensive knee injury, it didn't derail Hall in his second season. He finished the season as the running back 6 in fantasy points per game with 299 touches and 1,500 total yards. He was a baller as a receiver last season, ranking 3rd in yards per route run and 4th in expected fantasy points per route run per fantasy points data. Hall is the top 5 fantasy running back in all formats. CeeDee Lamb is going to be the second receiver taken off the board. He emerged as a top fantasy wide receiver in 2023, finishing as a top wide receiver in half PPR formats with 335 fantasy points and averaging 19.7 points per game. The Cowboys had a negative red zone pass rate over expectation in 2023. Over the last 12 seasons, no wide receiver that has led the league in red zone targets has finished higher than wide receiver 3 the following season. Lamb is currently holding out amid contract litigations.
What are you missing? What are you looking for?
Who you want? It always starts with C.
Who are we looking for?
We're looking for
One C.
Huh? Wide receiver.
Oh, you're looking at the wrong.
Green, baby. Green, baby. No.
NFL receiver.
Jamar Chase is buddy.
There's one dude.
Yes.
He's only paid for one seed.
What?
Write it down. Write it down.
Did they mess it up?
Hold on. There's another one right here. No. Write it down.
What was picked? Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is being picked. Expert note: Jamar Chase emerges as the cornerstone of the Bengals offense in 2024, coming off a stellar season with 100 receptions and over 1,200 yards, despite finishing as the wide receiver 13 in 2023. His true potential shown with Joe Burrow, averaging 16.2 points per game and ranking as the wide receiver 6 from weeks 1 through 10. With his consistent red zone presence, leading the NFL in red zone targets per game over the last 2 seasons. Chase is poised for wide receiver 1 status, a position historically correlated with dominating red zone opportunities. However, he first needs to return to the field as he continues to hold in amid the desire for a new contract.
I'm a red question. Yeah, you're the question now.
There you go. Question mark.
I know, right?
I say you guys were going to be here for the first round, as we are over an hour and a half.
Yeah, good job.
We are over.
Good job, Primo.
We are over an hour and a half on this live. Again, this is what they are playing for. Waiting for the next pick. Team up right now is Matt. Let's see who is he gonna go for.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. Expert note: Justin Jefferson showcases elite talent in 2023, finishing 5th in points per game despite missing 7 games and losing starting quarterback Kirk Cousins. With 68 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns, he commanded a 28% target share and excelled even without Cousins on the field, averaging 18.4 points per game in the final stretch. Before Cousins' injury, he led all wide receivers in fantasy points, scored 21.7 per game. Heading into the 2024, Jefferson's ability to thrive regardless of the quarterback situation positions him as one of the NFL's top receivers. The next pick is Amon-Ra St. Brown, the outlook. You got this, Dan. Yep. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a standout season, finishing 3rd among wide receivers with 247.5 fantasy points and averaging 16.5 points per game. He showcased his reliability with 112 receptions for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, earning a 12.2 yards per reception average.
All right.
Where's the clock? No, you still got plenty of time.
You got plenty of time. I got 2 minutes.
Feels like a minute's already passed.
Right now, Father is on the clock. We got Christian McCaffrey, Isaiah Pacheco, Tyreek Hill, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Jefferson, and St. Brown off the board. Jahmyr Gibbs.
They got David Montgomery too.
He's number 6.
Jonathan Taylor.
He's number 4. Who?
Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
You taking
Jahmyr Gibbs, who every nerd who said the Lions were foolish for selecting Gibbs in the first round has a tiny bit of an egg on their face. Gibbs finished the season as the running back 8 in fantasy points per game and fantasy points per opportunity. He was a tackle-breaking blur last season, ranking 18th in yards after contact per attempt and 11th in missed tackles forced per attempt. After David Montgomery returned from injury, Gibbs averaged 14.1 touches and 73 total yards per game. Montgomery isn't going anywhere, but that doesn't mean Gibbs can't be a top-shelf running back 1 again in 2024.
I like that. I was looking for him in the second half. He's going to read down back this year.
What you gonna do, brother?
Chewy's up.
You know he's up. Say the name so I can just cross it off.
Ooh, say it out loud.
He said you just Garrett Wilson.
Are you serious?
You are
Wow.
For real? Hey, stay up. It's cool.
Jet? Yep.
It's all out of order, though. It's all out of order.
Next pickup is Garrett Wilson. Now, Garrett Wilson's 2023 season saw impressive peripheral metrics despite lackluster quarterback play. He tallied 95 receptions from 168 targets for 1,402 yards, but only managed 3 touchdowns. With a 30% target share and a league-leading 46% yard share, Wilson showcased his potential. If the Jets' quarterback situation stabilizes in 2024, Wilson's fantasy ceiling could soar even higher. His projection is 215 fantasy points with 95 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns.
You know what you're taking? What's the name? AJ Brown.
A.J. Brown is going to be the next person up.
AJ Brown.
Yep, and his fantasy outlook. A.J. Brown had a solid season, ranking 5th among wide receivers with an average of 14.8 points per game. He showcased his big play ability with 105 receptions for over 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns. However, he struggled towards the end of the season, outscored by Devontae Smith after Week 11, coinciding with the Eagles' late season collapse. With changes in the coaching staff, including the hiring of Kellen Moore, there's uncertainty about Brown's production in 2024 if the team continues to struggle. He's projected to have 94 receptions, 1,300 yards with only 8 touchdowns. And we're going to go back-to-back picks. Jonathan Taylor is going to get off the board.
RBs, look for RBs.
It was a weird year for Jonathan Taylor all around, from contract disputes to injuries. We rarely got to see Taylor fully ramped up and healthy in 2023. Entering his age 25 season, Taylor remains firmly in the prime of his career. In weeks 7 through 18, he handled 21 touches per game, churning out 99.4 total yards per game. While many of his efficiency metrics were depressed last season, Taylor still ranked 13th in yards after contact per attempt, which tells me all I need to know. He is still one of the best backs in the league and should remain a locked in running back 1 after finishing last season as a running back 12 in fantasy points per game. A rushing attack fueled by Taylor and Anthony Richardson should be a nightmare for defensive coordinators this season. He is projected to have 283 rushing attempts with 1,200 yards rushing with 10 touchdowns rushing. He is projected to have 241 fantasy points.
All right, you don't know yet.
10, 9,
Are we going actual 2 minutes or Pacheco 2 minutes?
I don't know if there's
Pacheco 2 minutes. We have all night still.
Yeah, right. Let's go Brittany said.
He said the same thing. Who is it?
No contact.
Who we got?
Go ahead.
Who we got?
You know, he's supposed to be at work at 2 o'clock every afternoon, and he don't even leave the house till 2:05.
Kyron Williams with the Rams. His fantasy outlook expert note: Williams was a revelation in 2023 as he quickly kicked Cam Akers to the curb, taking over the starting job in week 2. Williams was the running back 2 in fantasy points per game, ranking 4th in red zone touches, 1st in snap share, and 4th in opportunity share. Among 68 qualifying backs, he ranked 25th in missed tackles, force per attempt, and 27th in yards after contact per attempt. Despite his smaller frame, Sean McVay had no issues leaning on Williams as his bell cow in weeks 2 through 17. He averages 22 touches and 117 total yards, playing at least 72% of the snaps in 10 of 11 games played. The only knock on Williams' usage last season was his pass game role. Despite entering the NFL as a ballyhooed passing down back, Williams only ranked 18th in target share and 58th in yards per route run. Even with the addition of Blake Corum to the roster, this should remain Williams' backfield. He should remain a strong running back 1 in 2024. He is projected to have 228 fantasy points, 1,100 yards rushing with 10 touchdowns.
I usually stop and get food and shower before 10 o'clock.
Right?
Salute to the chat. Salute to the chat.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, wide receiver from Tampa Bay. His outlook. Mike Evans ranked as a wide receiver 4 in 2023, totaling 239.3 points, 14 per game as a wide receiver 8. He caught 76 passes for 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. He was signed a 2-year deal with the Buccaneers. Yeah, he did. Keeping his talent in Tampa Bay, he will be 31 in August. Lamar Jackson being the first quarterback taken off the board. Lamar.
I already know. Everybody knows who I'm taking.
Lamar Jackson has been the best running quarterback in football and quite possibly the best of all time. But Jackson made enormous strides as a passer in 2023. Thriving under the tutelage of first-year Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Jackson established new career highs in passing yardage, completion percentage, and yards per attempt. And of course, Jackson provided plenty of fantasy value as a runner with 821 rushing yards and 5 touchdown runs. Jackson finished quarterback 4 in fantasy scoring despite being held out of the season finale. And he had a spectacular stretch run for his fantasy managers. We got Saquon Barkley as the next pick. The Philly front office has officially gaslit the entire Giants fan base. Barkley's move to the Eagles might be met with some blowback because people are worried about his touchdown equity with Jalen Hurts. Barkley and DeAndre Swift are not close to being in the same talent area code. Bringing in Barkley means we likely see a downtick of Hurts goal line drives in 2024. While the overall counting stats for Barkley look depressed, he's still very much an every down bell cow with juice left in the tank entering his age 27 season. We got Puka Nacua off the board. His outlook. Puka Nacua is so clearly the alpha in the Rams passing game. 9 catches for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns on 10 targets, with 100 yards coming after the catch in his final game of his rookie year. Capped off a historic rookie campaign that saw him break the receptions, receiving yards record for a first-year player. In 18 games played, Nacua posted a 29% target share and 15.3 points per game. First in yards after the catch, third in receiving EPA, and 14th in weighted opportunity.
Who you got, Derek? Derrick Henry.
Now we're going to go back to the king, Derrick Henry. Some players are simply built different. Henry has and remains one of those guys. Last year at age 29, he ranked first in rushing attempts and second in rushing yards while showing the little drop-off in efficiency metrics. While he will cross the dreaded age 30 threshold this year, it's tough to project a drop-off for Henry and any reasons that he can't continue to chug along as in running back 1, especially when Henry has proven over the last 2 seasons that his pass game utility should increase despite his advancing age. hopefully.
Who's going betting signs?
Oh, Travis
Travis Etienne.
Travis Etienne. And we have a fuck with
That's my sleeper. My sleeper, Travis Etienne, taking off the board. Travis Etienne had a really good preseason. Expert note for Etienne: from a top-down view, Etienne's 2023 season looks like a smashing success, as he was the running back 7 in fantasy points per game, logging 325 touches with 1,400 yards and 12 total touchdowns. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel, who is the 9th rated wide receiver on the board.
Jalen Hurts. What? CJ Stroud from the
Deebo Samuel ranked as the wide receiver 12 overall despite playing 15 games. Notably, he scored the second most total touchdowns with his dual role as a rusher and receiver. Samuel also led all wide receivers in total red zone touches. However, his injury history raises concerns due to his physical playing style. CJ Stroud is getting taken off the board. Expert outlook. A magnificent rookie season for CJ Stroud has fans and fantasy managers clamoring for more in 2024. And the trade that brought wide receiver Stephon Diggs to the Texans gives the young quarterback one of the best sets of pass catchers in the league. The second overall pick of the 2023 draft behind Bryce Young, he threw for 4,108 yards and 23 touchdowns in 15 games. Stroud ranked 3rd in the league in passing yardage per game among quarterbacks with at least 6 starts, 13 yards per attempt, 6th in pass rating, and 1st in interception percentage. The future looks bright for Stroud, who, in addition to Diggs, can also leverage the talent of excited young wide receivers Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Speaking of Nico Collins, he just got picked with the next pick going to Brittany. Now, for the outlook, Nico Collins had a breakout season in his 3rd year with the Texans, propelled by his partnership with quarterback C.J. Stroud. He showcased remarkable yards after catchability, amassing nearly 1,500 receiving yards with 1,300 air yards, and a significant portion of his yards came after the catch. Collins boasted a 24% target share and ranked second among all wide receivers with 3.11 yards per run route, a feat achieved by only a select few players since 2017. Last pick, you guys, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Last pick before we get out of here. It is going to be Travis Kelce. He got Travis Kelce and Laporta. Once the gold standard at the tight end position, Travis Kelce will still be the overall tight end 1 for a lot of people in 2024 fantasy drafts, but he will no longer be a unanimous choice. Kelce finished the 2023 regular season for 93 catches, 984 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Sam Laporta, who was the next pick. Sam Laporta was a revelation as a rookie, catching 86 passes for 889 yards and 10 touchdowns to finish as an overall tight end 1. What can Laporta do for an encore in year 2? But anyways, you guys, thank you guys for pulling up. We are going to hit 2 hours. I appreciate you guys for pulling up. I'm going to kick back, get some more food, and see how this draft turns out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys again. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. Hit that like and hit the bell. You guys are amazing. Love y'all. Have a great day. Peace.